From the food we eat, the air we breathe, the land we dwell, to the health of our body and mind and the well-being of all things in the universe. Unlock the science with Chula Radio Plus.
Welcome to Unlock the Science. I'm Lawanjira Suladet. Fine particulate matter, or fine particles, PM2.5, is one of the pollutants existent in the air that we breathe in every day. It's harmful to our health and has become one of the most urgent problems for Thai government in terms of air quality. PM2.5 refers to fine particles that are 2.5 microns or less in diameter. Think about a particle that is 50 to 100 times smaller than the diameter of our hair. That is how small a particle of 2.5 microns is. Since PM2.5 is fairly small, when we inhale these fine particles, they can easily travel into our lung or even our bloodstream. In 2005, the World Health Organization, or WHO, set the daily safe level of PM2.5 at 25 micrograms per cubic meter and said that failing to meet this safe level could cause numerous fatalities in humans. However, considering that ideal level of PM2.5 cannot be easily achieved in many countries in the world, the WHO set 3 higher but allowable guideline levels of PM2.5 at 37.5, 50, and 75 micrograms per cubic meter. This is to help many developing countries in their gradual curbing of PM2.5. In Thailand, the Pollution Control Department under Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment has carried out studies on this issue for years. Then, in 2010, after taking into consideration the economic, social, and technological factors of the country, the National Environment Board decided to set the daily standard level of PM2.5 in Thailand as 50 micrograms per cubic meter, which is twice higher than the ideal standard set by the WHO. There are 2 reasons why Thailand settled with this standard. Firstly, 50 micrograms per cubic meter is still a level within the WHO guidelines. And second, the government is probably aware that it's not going to be easy for them to get rid of diesel oil or diesel engines, which are a key source of PM2.5, but remain more affordable for many Thai people compared to gasoline or benzene. However, Thailand's Pollution Control Department has reported that PM2.5 level in Thailand often exceeds the level of 50 micrograms per cubic meter, and that in early 2021, there were days when PM2.5 in Bangkok and its vicinities reached a hazardous level of 93 to 111 micrograms per cubic meter, a number 4 times higher than the standard set by the WHO. That level of over 90 is way beyond what is permissible by the WHO. Exposure to this particulate matter over a period of time will have adverse effects on our health. The WHO links PM2.5 to breathing problems and heart disease, as well as the fatality associated with these diseases. Furthermore, people with pre-existing lung or heart conditions, elderly, and children are highly vulnerable to the consequence of PM2.5. The WHO Regional Office for Europe has highlighted that PM2.5 can cause malfunction of children's lung, as well as chronically reduced lung growth rate and a deficit in long-term lung function. In view of its nationwide and hazardous implications, it's important for us to have a firm grasp of what this fine particulate matter actually is. Today, we are joined by Professor Pisut Painmanakul from Department of Environmental Engineering, Faculty of Engineering at Chulalongkorn University, who's going to give us more insights into this issue. Unlock the Science reporter, Ha Wang Mong, talks to him to learn more about the issues.
Professor Pisut, the Air Quality Monitoring Group at Chulalongkorn University has said that Thailand has been facing critical haze situation. So what exactly is the PM2.5 situation in Thailand in the short term and long term?
So for short term, I think that we still have this kind of problem due to our living lifestyle, because long time ago, for the farmer, they try to open burn, to crop adjustment, okay? And for us also, the traffic situation in the urban areas is still be the same, okay? This is the short term, that why we still have the problem of PM2.5, okay? For long term, it depends on us, because if we still do and just like the business as usual, so it means that the PM2.5 continue living with us for a long time, okay? However, I think it's a very good thing because right now, too many people aware, okay? All of us aware that PM2.5 is very, very small particle. It can affect us, right? As a chronic effect. So long time, I think that it depends on our lifestyle, right? Our doing activity. We have to change. Yeah, we have to do some behavioral change to complete that one.
There are a lot of other pollutants in the air apart from PM2.5, namely carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, ozone, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, PM10, and lead. So what is the fundamental difference between PM2.5 and the others? And what pollutant is actually the most hazardous to humans' health?
Okay. Sometimes it's difficult to answer. Okay, which one is more dangerous? But in theories, when we want to separate the type of air pollutions, we separate into three types of them. The first one is particles. Okay, so it means that PM10, PM2.5 will be categorized onto this group. Okay, particles suspended in the air. The second group, is the gaseous air pollution. For example, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, etc. Okay, and the third group is the one that you already said about lead, that we call heavy metals. Okay, so the way that this type of air pollution can affect to our health is depend on three things. The first one is the concentration, how much that you get, okay, the concentration. Second one, how long that you contact time, and the third one, okay, is the it depend on your health qualities also. It means that if you feel very good, very strong at this moment, maybe the effect is not quite purely occur. Okay.
So as you have mentioned before, so there are a lot of human activities in the urban as well as rural areas that are the sources of PM2.5. So I would like to ask, in Thailand, what are the key sources of PM2.5, and is there any difference between each part of Thailand?
Okay. If we think about the main source of the PM2.5, okay, we can separate the main source into four types of them. Okay, the first one is the traffic and transportation. Okay, that's why sometimes we think when we saw the traffic jams, when we saw the truck, diesel, train, diesel, vehicle, we think that this one is the source of PM2.5. Okay, traffic transportation is number one. Okay, number two is the open burning. For example, the farmer or agriculturals, they do burn some things, okay, in the open air. We call open burning. The third one is is coming from factories incineration, combustion, or power plant. And the fourth one that's become more important, we call transboundaries air pollution. It means that because air pollution is not the point source pollution. Sometimes if our neighboring country they do open burning something, they do some activities, and with the wind flow, right, we can have the thing that we call transboundary air pollution. So when you ask me a question that which source is the most important, okay, it depend on locations, time, and your activities. Okay, for example, in Bangkok, okay, if we want to focus or point out that only traffic is the main source, I think it's very difficult to conclude that one, because sometimes the source of the PM2.5 can coming from the open burning. Sometimes if we have the factory or the power plant nearby Bangkok and neighboring areas, yes, PM2.5 can coming from that one.
It's good to know that PM2.5 doesn't come from only one source, as many people have thought, that is from vehicles, as you just said. So for Bangkok and its vicinities, so according to the Pollution Control Department, in early January 2021, the PM2.5 level in this area reached a hazardous level. So from 93 to 111 micrograms per cubic meters. So could you please explain the reason behind this rise in PM2.5?
Yes, I think this question is very interesting, because during that time, we still in the lockdown for the COVID-19. So it means that the number of the vehicles into the city is very limited. But why we have the rise of the PM2.5? Okay, so it means that we need to consider another factors apart from the main source or not. So another three factors that I would like to share with you and with everyone is the weather condition. Because imagine what is going to happen if we in the weather is very cold, and the technical term we call the PBL, planetary boundary layers. Okay, imagine if this PBL, this layer become lower and lower. So it means that when we emit the pollution, even very low concentration, but they cannot diffuse because this layer push them down. So they cannot diffuse to another areas. So the PBL or the weather condition should be the second factors. The third factor is also important. We call landscape or the urban areas or the urban landscape. Imagine for the area B, very open, but for the area A, just like the Bangkok area. So how the weather, the wind, and the diffuse of this pollution is totally different, right? So urban areas, the landscape is the third factors, and the last one is the green area. Four factors.
You have mentioned green spaces. So to what extent do you think a lack of green spaces in Bangkok and other parts in Thailand has contributed to the current issue of PM2.5?
Okay. For WHO, World Health Organizations, they try to propose that we need around 9 square meters per people, okay, for the green area. However, in Bangkok or some province near us, Nonthaburi, around 2 or 6 square meter per people. Let's take a look at the main roles of the green area. 3 things that is very important. The first one, imagine if we have the high density of the green area. So this green area can function as the filters. So they can capture, and filtrate the dust particle, okay, by their own layers, The second one, okay, when we have the green area, the tree, so we gonna have the temperature difference by nationals, right? under the tree, low temperature, outside is higher than. So we gonna generate the wind by natural, right? Because we have the temperature gradients. Okay, so we gonna have the wind blows. So it means that by using this wind blow, they can reduce the concentration of the PM2.5 from some part to another part. Okay, and the third one, I think the green area reduce the temperature and also produce us the oxygen.
We will take a short break now.
You are listening to Unlock the Science on Chula Radio Plus.
In facing PM2.5, Thai people have been seeking more information as well as adopting countermeasures against these fine particles, improving indoor air quality by making sure that proper ventilations are installed with regular cleanings and maintenance, installing equipment to help reduce dust, and planting more trees have been some of the prevention tips advised for the public. Whereas N95 masks, which are able to filter dust particles, are strongly recommended for those who will be entering dusty areas. As this harmful and widespread PM2.5 is likely to stay with Thai people for a long time, more needs to be done in order to better tackle this issue. Roughly 3 years ago, a project initiated by faculties of engineering at Chulalongkorn University called Sensorforall has become one of the key players in the battle against PM2.5 in Thailand. This sensorforall project was launched at a time when people in the northern part of Thailand had become increasingly intolerant with their health situation. Also, in 2016, the Pollution Control Department included PM2.5 as a national agenda. It has also become realized that the country lacks relevant data regarding this particulate matter. Currently, 176 sensors have been installed in Bangkok and some other provinces. A sensor takes form of a square container with the size of a Wi-Fi router. Its mechanism is installed within the container itself to measure the level of PM2.5 within a radius of 2 to 3 kilometers when plugged in. By the end of 2021, the project aims to have 500 to 1,000 sensors installed across Thailand. It's in the fundraising process, which would be crucial for the installation of more sensors and further utilization of collected data of PM2.5 in research analysis as well as education. Unlock the Science reporter Ha Huang Mong talked more to Professor Pisut Painmanakul, the project leader, to get us the insights of this project.
So, Professor Pisut, could you please briefly update us the progress of the sensorforall project so far?
Well, right now we in the third years of this project. Okay, we gonna install within this years, 2021, around in between 500 to 1,000 sensor around countries. Okay, so right now we accomplished around 150 sensors already. Okay, so we keep going about the sensor installations. Okay, and another one, we tell people that we need their support. That's why we open the fundraisings for everyone, every Thai people or every business sector in Thailand. You can find some more information on our websites and our Facebook.
And how do you imagine the role of this sensorforall project in fighting PM2.5 in the future?
Sensorforall project, they're gonna contribute on 4 roles, okay, for PM2.5 fighting in the future. The first one, okay, they're gonna help us into the monitoring data all over country. And also, we can validate and calibrate the results, okay, compare with the reference with the Pollution Control Department data. The second one, each minute, each second, okay, we're gonna have the huge data. Imagine if we collect this data and integrate that and analyze this data together with the weather condition, wind blow, temperature, humidity, and also if we integrate to analyze this data with the human activity. So it means that we can analyze in depth. So we gonna know in the future, maybe we can know the source, or sometimes we can know the what is the main factors that we have to focus and solve this kind of problem. Okay, and the third row, after we know, or analyze this one very well, okay, we can help government to open the public policies effectively. So it means that because we know if we focus on this one, if we try to change or we open this public policy, this one will be directly attacked to the main source, to the main factors. And the fourth one, I think if we know, okay, what today, this is the data, and we know inside deeply, we can do the behavior change because people will think, okay, I'm owner on this problem also, so I can change my living lifestyle. So this is the 4 roles.
And interestingly, the data collected from the sensors, as far as we know, can assist in the analysis of DNA of dust. So could you please elaborate on this intriguing feature and why do we need this analysis?
Okay. Imagine, as I already told you that for the second row, okay, after we got the data, okay, a lot, okay, we have the data as the numbers, okay. So for example, we're gonna know, okay, why Bangkok compared with the Lopburi province, why the PM2.5 situation is too different, okay. So based on this data, 2 things will coming up for us. The first one, okay, the experiment will be done very soon. Okay, for example, if we know the data and then another team collect the dust, okay, the real dust, real PM2.5, and then try to analyze. That we call source apportionment. Okay, so we can correlate this data to see that, okay, this is the real source. Okay, this is the really real source. Okay, and we can confirm to everyone. Okay, this is the first one, that why we need the thing that you call DNA. Okay. And the second one, I think this DNA is also very important for us because this kind of DNA and source apportionment will be related to another 3 factors that I told you at first. Okay, so we can use this data to correct and correlate, with the PBL, planetary layer. We can correlate this data with the urbanizations. Okay, and also the green areas.
Thanks a lot, Ajahn Pisut, for your insightful session.
The nature of PM2.5 seemed more complicated than we might have thought. As more time would be needed for research and the government and public to effectively mitigate and solve the root cause of PM2.5 in Thailand. Each of us should take precautions on our own in order to protect ourselves and those around us. These precautions can be as simple as smoking less, reducing the use of joysticks, candles, charcoal, firewood, and photocopy machines. Because, unknown to a lot of us, these activities are the cause of dust and air pollution. If everyone makes concerted effort to follow these measures, the air quality would be improved to a certain extent. This also marks the end of today's program. See you again next Saturday. Have a nice day.
Unlock the Science is edited and produced by Sinfa Tunsarawut with Lawan Jirasuradet as the program host and co-producer.